well, let's. So I have one bottle that you don't. I mentioned. So
That's
this
right.
is Chapelle de Barbe.
Now, yes.
So Barbe, even my sons who take French know that it means beard. But
Yes.
I wonder. So I first want to talk about the Chateau de Barbe, which is uh, the larger or perhaps better known wine. And then why is it Barbe? Why, do you know the story
For
behind it?
sure. So I just show you, Jeff. This is the new. This is a mock-up label, but it will be sent to the printer today, actually. So Chateau de Barbe. This is the main wine. It's on the right bank in Côte de Bourg, and the name is coming. It's very simple. It's just the Marquis de Barbe that built the chateau in the early 18th century. That's as simple as that. So I don't think there's any link with the beard or my lack of shaving the last few days on the on the bike. This is why it's called Chateau de Barbe.
And
And
talk a little bit about the Côte de Bourg. And there's different appellations within the Bordeaux region. So where does Côte de Bourg fit in to all of that?
so yes, indeed, the a few of what is sometimes called the satellite appellations on the right bank have joined under the Côte de Bordeaux a few years ago, but Côte de Bourg has decided to remain as its own appellation. Bourg is it's a lovely village. I cycled through it yesterday on my way to Château de Barbe. It's a lovely village on the Gironde, pretty much exactly where the Garonne and the Dordogne meet. And it's an appellation that's quite wide in the specificity of Chateau de Barbe, and even more so the wine that you're drinking, Jeff, the Chapelle de Barbe. It's directly on the water. It's literally the Chapelle de Barbe vineyard is at the level of the water, and it's in a Bordeaux Supérieur appellation, whereas the coteaux just overlooking the water are in the Côte de Bourg appellation.
So is there any water influence? I know there's other parts of in Bordeaux, particularly in Sauternes, the fog that comes in from the ocean can really cool down the grapes. Is that happen also in the Côte de Bourg?
There's no fog, so there's no botrytis. Anyway, we harvest way before, but there's an interesting factor because at this level, the tide is very noticeable. So you have a flow of air, mostly of course, as we discussed earlier, coming from the west. But with the change of tide, you have the reverse. You have a flow of air. That's one thing, and second, this block of water, because it's very wide, it's a good preventer for frost risks. So it's a very interesting place, this Chateau de Barbe.
Okay, so Chateau de Barbe is a little bit different than the Chapelle de Barbe, which is, I see, a Bordeaux Supérieur. So what's the difference between a Côte de Bourg and a Bordeaux Supérieur?
In this case, it's very simply like pretty much everything in France when you talk about wine label, wine appellation, is the plot. The Côte de Bourg is a very strict delimitation, and this particular vineyard that makes up Chapelle de Barbe is literally, it's on the other side of a small road, a bit like in Burgundy. You cross one small road and you go from one climat to the next. Here, it's exactly the same thing. It's purely the fact that it's on the side of the road, so it's a lower part of the vineyard, because the blend composition is very, very similar. It's being on the right bank is dominated by Merlot.
So you don't have it there, but another delightful wine. I don't know if you know the U.S. kind of retail price on this, but
I would imagine it's just below 20.
So I think, is there a little bit more oak on this? Do you know?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
So that really comes off. There's a little bit of oak, but a little bit of smokiness. So I'm imagining there's a little bit of toasting of the barrels going on, and
that's right.
But dark red fruit, a little bit of plum. Really a lovely wine. Another one. And there's a little bit more, just a hint more tannin on this one. So I think this could stand up. This is a 2016, so already it's a little bit older. But this one I think you could hold on for another 2, 3, 4 years pretty easily. But it's drinking really well right now. I mean, so I mean, again, it's an easy drinking wine. You know, this has a little bit more heft to it, I think, than the Gantonnet did. So it can handle a little bit more. I mean, you're getting into more like steak and, you know, meatier. But still, I mean, on the before dinner, you know, watching the football game,
Right.
you know, it's a pretty versatile wine. So another winner, I think, from the Richard family.
Thank you.
And so with these wines that are a little, we're not talking the, you know, as you said, the Premier Cru Classé. How much influence is there on vintage on the wines, the larger production wines, or these satellite appellation wines? What do you think?
Yeah, we have. So I've been participating to the major assemblage, the major blend with. We have employed Eric Boisseneau, one of a major consultant here in Bordeaux since the vintage 2015, and I've started to participate to those major blending sessions, and we definitely see vintage variation. It's maybe it's a bit less than let's say states that control their production very significantly. So with the bottle production varies greatly because they discard a lot, they move a lot into the second vin, or even sometimes, you know, troisième vin, just to focus and keep the prices up on the
Right.
major one. We don't have that. We want to make accessible wine year in, year out. We respect the vintage, of course, but we see, back to my point about the overall climate change. So far, it's helped us in achieving even here high up in the Haut-Médoc a good maturity year in, year out. So yes.
The other thing I noticed on all of these wines is that on the back label, the varietal composition is listed. So this one is 90%. It says 90% Merlot and 10% Cabernet Sauvignon. Is that for the American market? Or do you see that more and more in France, or is that just a Richard family kind of? They've decided to do that.
It's more for the export market. Even so, we've started also in France more recently because the consumer, I think, a bit more aware. They want to know what they're drinking, and of course, the grape composition is a major element of that. So yes, we are adding that too in France now.
Okay. Well, I mean, 3 really affordable wines, 3 fantastic wines. I mean, I wouldn't hesitate to recommend these to anybody. So this was great. Thanks again. And
just one last thing, just to
finish.
Oh
yeah. I'm sorry. I want you to talk about where you are. That label looks a lot like what's behind you. Is that?
Yeah, Chateau Victoria. So this wine will be available in the US market. This is our I would say flagship property in terms of the ambitions we have for quality. I'm in the Haut-Médoc here, so I'm just a few kilometers away from Pauillac and Saint-Estèphe. So it took me literally from the Bordeaux to Saint-Estèphe. It maybe took me 5 minutes cycling up here, if not even that. And it's an interesting terroir. It's mostly Cabernet Sauvignon now. We're on the left bank, so totally different blend. Here we use a lot more barrel, of course, rounding the tannins. We do a longer aging in barrel, including New Oak barrel, and it's a Cru Bourgeois. So we get the label is a historic Cru Bourgeois. So I would say it's a wine with a bit more ambition, a wine that is definitely benefiting from those warmer years that we've been discussing, Jeff. And so it's a wine that I'm looking forward to introduce to the US market, and hopefully in person at some point when I when I can travel again. I really miss coming, visiting you, Jeff, and your family in Houston, and visiting all my friends across the country.
Well, of course, we'd love to have you anytime. You know, we have a little bit of room here, but you're always welcome to it. So just one more thing about the Crew Bourgeois.
Yeah.
Have they ironed out all their problems yet? Or is that still kind of...
I think, can I take a joker and say, I don't want to answer that question. I'm not aware of any lawsuit going on right now, but probably there'll be another one.
When people say that the Americans are lawsuit happy, I say, go talk to the people in Crew Bourgeois.
It's ridiculous, because the idea is great.
No, I think it's fantastic, and I think the approach. I mean,
people make it recognizable for the consumer, and instead of that, you fight over like little details. That, hey, here you go.
Yeah, one person feels slighted, and it sends the whole thing into a kerfuffle. So no,
Right.
I joke, but I love the Crew Bourgeois wines. Again, I think those are you get some really high quality wines without having to delve into the whole the 1855 or 1855 classification wines, and some really good finds in the Crew Bourgeois world. So I'll be anxious to try the Victoria at some point once it comes to these shores. Or
before we finish, if I can move my computer around, I want to show you the lovely sunset over the vineyard. It's quite amazing. You have to see that, and you'll see that the environment is quite spectacular. It's all our vineyard here at Chateau Victoria. Wow. It's surrounded by woods, so it's really interesting. It's a very wonderful area. There you go.
Yeah. So do they have all 5 Bordeaux varieties there, or is it mostly Cabernet and Merlot?
It's it's mostly Cabernet and Merlot. There's also a bit of Petit Verdot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Christophe, this has been great, and I know we'll talk more about this soon, about next year, and maybe try to get some other people involved in a ride, hopefully next year. That
I hope so.
Down the road. But this has been great, and I'm sure we'll hear more from you soon.
Absolutely. Merci beaucoup, Jeff.
Hey, ciao.
Bye. Ciao.